My chef status went up several levels when I discovered the magic of using fresh herbs in my cooking. And today I'm going to show you how to keep that magic going year-round right here on your kitchen windowsill. Hi, Kitty. Yes, using fresh herbs in your cooking can take your game as a chef from just meh, average to great. I promise you. But here's the problem. It's not always convenient to have fresh herbs within arm's reach. I need to be able to have something that is easily accessible, that looks great on my kitchen windowsill, and that can also contain all the herbs that I use on a day-to-day basis. So you saw what my kitchen windowsill looks like with those haphazard little containers with herbs in them. And I've been looking hard for a better solution, and I think I finally have it. Vego Garden has sent me this indoor self-watering herb planter that will fit, I think, perfectly on my windowsill, and it's self-watering. One less thing for me to worry about, and because it's self-watering, I can treat it as a hydroponic system and pack in the herbs. Anyway, more of that in a little bit. Let's dive into this and unbox it and see what we've got. And then, of course, I'm going to set it up. I'm going to plant it up, and I'm going to share with you all the tips on how to set up your own indoor herb garden, whether that be this from Vego Garden or your own DIY setup. Let's get into it. So this is going to be part one of a three-part series. I've actually got two more unique indoor planters that I want to show you, and you really don't want to miss what I'm going to be planting in these planters. And I will link those as I get them done at the end of this video. All right, let's open this up and set it up. So nice and compact, just 3 items in it. This is the base of the planter. This is the self-watering system with the wicking tubes under it, and I'll talk about that as well in just a moment. I'm going to be describing the self-watering system in this video. I won't be describing it in the videos that I do for these other two because I will refer back to this one. So they're all the same setup basically. And in this we've got some connectors, the water gauge, tools, things like that. These are the legs. Nice screwdriver. I don't have to go inside my house to get one. And here are the parts. This is the water gauge, so you can see the level of the water and whether it's time to water again, and some hardware. Let's see if I can do this without reading the instructions. I'm not exactly the handy person. If I can do this, anybody can. Okay, and the water meter goes right in here. These 4 little posts are for the trellis, so put these in here. I think there's actually something more at the bottom. Aha! It's hiding in there. Yeah, here's the instruction manual. Yep, this is the trellis that's going to go on top. I'm actually going to wait and put this at the end after I've planted it up because I think it's going to be inconvenient to navigate with this on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the parts of this planter. This is the watering gauge, and it's going to tell you how much water there is, and when you're ready to refill it, you refill it from this slot right here. And this is the base where the water will collect when you pour it in from the top. So the way that it works is you fill up the soil in this compartment. The soil gets into these wicking tubes at the bottom here, and the wicking tubes are sitting in water, and they will suck up water and percolate it up through the soil as the soil dries out on the top. So that's the physics of it. And the beauty of this planter is that it can function as a hydroponic system. So I have used this with my other self-watering planter that I got from Costco, where I would actually put fertilizer in the liquid that I was pouring into it, and that functioned as a hydroponic system under it. So it's kind of a hybrid between soil and hydroponic, and the roots always have access to nutrition at the bottom. Now there is airflow because there is a gap between the inner and the outer containers, so the roots always have access to air, which is super important in a hydroponic system to prevent root rot. So the plants develop what's called air roots, and those are the ones that absorb the oxygen, and then they've got the feeder roots that go into the soil and get the nutrition, as well as seek out nutrition wherever it's available. In this case, it's the water that's sitting under the planter. And that's why my plants in my hydroponic systems grow so fast, because there's absolutely no competition for the plants, and you can really pack them in here because they all have access to nutrients. There's no competition and they all grow well. Oh, and by the way, when the planter comes to you, it's got this little spout that is covered over here, and of course you've got the perforated one on top. So if you're using it outdoors, make sure that you remove this, because if you've got a lot of rain, the water needs to have an escape route. Otherwise, it's going to accumulate on the top and drown your plants. When it's indoors, you can keep an eye on it. But when it's outdoors, you can't control the water that is flowing into it, especially on rainy days. So make sure that you remove the stopper if you're putting this planter outdoors. Okay, now let's talk about the soil that you want to use to fill up this planter, because there are some criteria that I want you to look for to make sure that you don't run into problems. And this is the case whether it's this planter or any indoor planter, or even starting your seedlings. We'll also talk a little bit about the environment that you want to create, the light, the heat, the humidity, those conditions. And then we'll talk a little bit about the watering schedule as well. And finally, we'll get into maintenance ongoing, as well as pest management, diseases, other kinds of things that you might need to watch out for. So your soil needs to be light and airy and fluffy. As much as possible, you want it to be inert. Now, this might be slightly controversial, but I do not add things like compost for my indoor plants as much as possible, because that's just asking for root rot and disease. I would rather add my fertility afterward via liquid fertilizer than add it into my mix. So the soil mix that I'm using over here is a purchased soil mix. This is called Sunshine Mix, I think, from a company called Sungrow. No affiliation. I just like it very much because it's got some very basic ingredients. Pretty much just sphagnum peat moss. It's got perlite. It's got, I think, dolomite to balance the pH, and then it's got some kind of wetting agent. That's it. No organic compost fertility at all added to the soil, which is perfect for our planter. Let's go ahead and fill this up. I'm actually going to take this out because, as you can see here, there's some soil that's getting into that, and I don't want that. So let me just get this in here. And now I'm going to water it in and see what the soil does. So we're going to let this absorb for a bit, and we'll come back and plant it up in a little bit. So it's the next day. Where did the time go? First, let's talk about plant selection. Now, there aren't too many rules about this, but there are a couple of guidelines that I think are important, so I'm going to share them with you. The first is you really want to choose herbs that you use on a regular basis, like almost every day. This does not have a lot of real estate, so even though you're going to be packing it in, you want to make sure that you're planting only the most important herbs that you don't want to rush out into the garden and grab in the middle of the night, right? And then the second thing is, when you choose the herbs, even though I said earlier that there won't be that much competition because they are going to be seeking the self-watering nutrients at the bottom, you still want to make sure that you are choosing herbs that kind of play nice together. Oh, and by the way, this rule is whether or not it's a self-watering planter, you still want to choose your herbs a little bit carefully. Case in point, and there's one big case in point, is my friend over here, mint. Now, mint does not play nice with anybody. It's a lovely herb. I use it very regularly, and I really wish I could bring it indoors and grow it on my kitchen windowsill, but it's definitely not going to be in this planter, because what mint does is that rather than push the roots downwards, it actually spreads. So in no time at all, you'll have your entire planter filled with mint, and all the other plants will start to get choked out. So sorry, mint, you're going to be all on your own in your own container. That doesn't seem like such a bad idea. See? It likes it. So the herbs that I have selected, other than mint, are one of my favorites, basil. And I've got two kinds of basil. I've got regular Genovese basil, and I've also got Thai basil. So they're both going to go in the middle of the pot. And then I have got two kinds of alliums. I've got onion chives and I've got garlic chives. And do you know how you can tell the difference between onion chives and garlic chives, other than the smell, of course, is garlic chives have flat leaves and onion chives have tubular leaves. Now you know. And then two more favorite herbs, oregano and thyme. And I'm kind of going to let these fall over the edge because I think they'll make a pretty little semi-trailing arrangement in my planter. We want to look good too, you know. Oh, and how could I forget cilantro, my favorite herb in the whole wide world. And if it tastes like soap to you, I'm so sorry. You are missing out, really. So this, I've got about 4 or 5 plants. The nice thing about mint is that when you plant individual plants, they actually tend to bush out and grow nicely. When you grow them all clustered together, which is typically how you would buy them, you'd buy them in a bunch, they've been grown really close together and they don't really reach their full potential. But when you plant them separately like this, they will grow bushier. And I'm really keen to see how they do in the self-watering planter. So that's my selection of herbs. Let's go ahead and plant them up. We'll start with the biggest herbs, basil. And I root these in water. I just put them in a cup of water on my windowsill and within a week they root. So I'm going to plant 2 basil plants just in case one of them doesn't make it. And I've also got Thai basil. This actually is cardinal basil. It's an ornamental basil. Produces this gorgeous head of purple flowers, but it tastes exactly like Thai basil. So I get both the flowers as well as the taste that I'm looking for in my Thai cuisine. And I was showing the planter to my mom, who is my inspiration. Rest in peace, Mom. She was telling me, hey, you're going to have to be careful about the size of the container because in no time at all, the herbs will grow and fill it up. And she was absolutely right. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one does because things are going to grow super well in this. But again, I'm hoping they won't compete. Next, let's plant our chives. I'm going to do garlic on one side and onion on the other, just to make it easier to harvest. Now, chives are so easy to grow. I mean, you literally cannot kill these things. Look at that root system for the garlic chives. Wow, I'm really impressed. And then the more delicate allium, the onion chives, which I actually like a little bit better than garlic chives. Wow, this seems to have kind of a root system too. Oh, look at that, you guys. Wow. Now, I harvest these so regularly on my kitchen counter and they just keep growing back and growing back and growing back, and absolutely no fertilizer given to them, but they just keep growing. So I am really interested to see how they will do when I actually provide them with fertilizer. I'm actually a little nervous that they're going to grow too well. And then finally, I've got thyme and I've got oregano. Now these I rooted very recently. I'm not expecting that they will have any roots, so they're going to have to continue their rooting process in the planter. They take a while to root. They're not quick like basil. I'll do one on either side like this, and I'll put my oregano in the back. Yeah, this hasn't rooted either. It's been at least a month and it hasn't rooted. A little nervous, but they will do fine. I've got so much oregano in my backyard that even if these don't root, it's not the end of the world. I'll just continue to grow them in water. Okay, nice, all planted up. And I keep forgetting my cilantro. I don't know what the deal is with me. I love this herb so much. So I'm going to just find little spots here and there in the planter, and I'm going to be interspersing cilantro with the other herbs. Okay, let's talk about water and fertilization, location, and in general maintenance, pest management, and that kind of thing. But before we do that, if you're getting value from this video so far, folks, I sure would appreciate a big thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much. And by the way, if you look carefully here, you can see these little slits. That's to allow for airflow between the two containers. And so make sure that when you filled up the soil in it, that you don't have soil sitting and blocking these slits, because that will defeat the purpose of having them. All right, and we need to put in our, there it is, water gauge. And if you see how this gauge is made, it's got this little bobble thing here, and water gets in over here, and as you fill up more water, the level rises, and then the little bobble thing moves upward. And so you know when it's full and when it needs more water. That was super easy to set up. Now, as far as watering goes, like I told you earlier, I always use a little bit of fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, in the water when I fill this up. Now, this would be the case whether I was using a DIY setup or one of these self-watering systems, because I do tend to use inert soil in my mixes. It helps keep pests and diseases at bay, and we'll get into that as well in just a moment. But if you're using soil that contains slow release fertilizer, compost, that kind of thing, it's okay for you to skip every once in a while. I wouldn't though. I'd add some fertility every single time. Now, as far as choices for fertilizer, you want to use a really good high quality liquid fertilizer. You have choices of chemical fertilizers or organic fertilizers. Either would work. I tend to go with this brand, no affiliation, but this has the range of micronutrients in it as well, and it's a chemical fertilizer, but of course the choice is completely up to you. Both will work well. Now, Vego Garden says that the first time you set this up, obviously the roots have not gotten into the wicking chambers, and so you do want to water from the top, but after a few weeks you can skip watering from the top altogether. In fact, you want to definitely avoid the top being waterlogged, because that creates just a host of problems. In addition to drowning the roots, it also invites fungus gnats and other diseases. So now let's talk a little bit about pests and disease management. Now, one of the most common pests that plagues indoor plants are fungus gnats. And these are gnats that come and lay their eggs in the soil, and the eggs hatch, and the little wormies that come out of it eat the roots of your plants, and something called damping off disease, fungal activity, sets in because of the moisture as well, and that just kills off young plants and young seedlings. So you want to try actually and keep the surface of the soil relatively dry. Now, when you stick your finger in, you should be able to feel moisture, but the surface of it should not always appear waterlogged. That's bad for the roots as well. The roots will develop root rot. Now, one of the best things to keep fungus gnats away, prevent them from coming in the first place, is, ta-da, this yellow sticky trap. Insects tend to be attracted to bright colors like yellow, and this is sticky on both sides. So these yellow sticky traps are amazing to catch those fungus gnats. The trick though is you need to put it before you have a fungus gnat problem, because after you have a fungus gnat problem, guess what? They've already laid their eggs, the process has started, and then you're almost too late. But if you get this before, you will be amazed at how many fungus gnats this thing collects. So I'm going to find something to stick this on, like a chopstick or something, and then I'm going to get it in there. Here we go. I just got a little plant label. That should do the job. The other thing that I use is 3% hydrogen peroxide solution, and I dilute this 50-50, and basically what this is, it's H2O2, so it's one extra oxygen atom, and that really makes a difference to add oxygenation to the top layer of soil, and that prevents a lot of fungal diseases. Indoor plants particularly benefit from having a little bit more oxygen, and hence the circulation around this is really, really helpful. Oh, and another thing that you can do to prevent fungal diseases is every once in a while, maybe once a week or so, bring it outside on a nice sunny day and leave it to get some sunshine. Nothing like sunshine to kill off fungal diseases. And now the grand finale. It's time to get this on my kitchen windowsill. Let's go. So, are we ready for the grand reveal? Ta-da! Let me turn it around. So this is what the before looked like, and this is the after. Look how sleek and neat and pretty that looks, and I just love the color as well. I put up the little trellis, and it's so nice to not have the chives sort of flopping over the side, easily accessible. And when this grows a little bit more, it is going to be so convenient to get my herbs. Stay tuned, I will provide updates on this planter. Follow my channel. And what happened to the little mint, you may ask? Well, it has its own container like we discussed, and I have put a short container inside this taller pot so that it can also get some self-watering benefits. I will fill this up with some fertilizer so the mint does not feel neglected. Now, I also have another self-watering planter that I'm going to showcase in my next video that I could have put the mint in. It would have been perfect for it, but I'm not going to waste it on mint because I've got something special planned for that. So in that video, in addition to planting this planter up with something special, I'll also talk about how to create an indoor grow station, not just for your plants, but also for starting your seedlings. So you don't want to miss that video. If you're interested in buying this planter, folks, I have an affiliate link, which I'll put in the description. I also have an additional 5% discount code, so be sure to use that. It's a wonderful gift idea, and it comes in a single pack as well as a double pack. And if you buy the double pack, you can gift one and maybe keep one for yourself.